Help me welcome Cynthia Friedlander.
Hello, everyone. I'm thrilled to be here. I'm going to make you work hard. I'm going to make you learn a lot. And I'm going to make you have fun, okay? Because if you're having fun, you learn more. That will give you the most learning is when you're having fun. And we all have very different learning styles. Some of us need to read things. And the good news is my book is here if you'd like to purchase it after the session, if it helps you read and you learn better. By the way, I don't read those kinds of books. I don't learn from reading. I learn from interactive and audio. I need to hear to really learn something, and I need to have an exchange with people. So I'm doing everything I can today to give you all of that, to give you very interactive learning. So we're going to look at perspective today, and you're going to not only walk away with tools you can use, you're going to use them here. So I'm going to talk to you about the fundamentals of good communication. I'm going to give you 7 simple steps to add to your communication. I'm going to give each of you 1 card. And you're going to put that card right here. And you're not going to know what card you have here. You're going to talk to people and let them know what their level is, whether they're a high card or whether they're a low card. But it's not really about the card. It's about who they are as a person. This card now represents who they are as a person. So I'm either someone of high value or I'm someone that has a low value card. A low value card. We still want to speak to people in a certain way. How are you going to speak to people to let them know what their level is in some kind of a hierarchy without actually giving away a clue about the number or something that rhymes or something that is more about the number than their role? How are you going to communicate to that person to let the person know his or her level? I believe that the world revolves around how we communicate with each other. Our relationships, our business settings, without good communication, there is no collaboration. And without collaboration, there's no innovation. So here we go. Keep moving, talk to other people. Keep moving, talk to other people. Okay, who here still doesn't have a clue what level they are? Everybody, you got a good sense, right? This was meaningful because it's about how we talk to each other. How do you communicate a lower level to someone so they know their place and you're not disrespectful? You're not talking down to them. How does that work? Tell me.
Somebody told me to go do a task for them.
Go do a task for me. Go.
Go get me this.
Go get me that. Yeah. What was your number? 3. Yeah. So you knew.
Everyone was very deferential to me, so I thought I was the head of the pack, and in fact I was thinking.
Yeah. And do we need to be deferential to someone's at the top? You know, what's the difference between deferential and respectful? All right? How can I get through the politics? Be respectful and not grovel.
Well, there is an art to begging.
There is an art to begging. There is an art to begging.
It's a way to ask.
Let's do this right now. Beg for me and grovel. Beg for me and grovel, because then we're going to do it the other way.
Okay, well, I would actually be talking to Howard.
Okay, all right. Beg Howard. Beg him. Beg Howard. Beg Howard. You don't have to respond. I want to point out some things. What happened with Rick? I think Rick, when I said we're going to do the begging and we're going to do the good way, I think he fluctuated back and forth. He started begging, and actually he went from begging to, damn it, you know, don't you see this situation? He got tone of voice. You went from having a very legitimate presentation, here it is, right here, and then, but it had that underbelly of anger or annoyance or I shouldn't be begging. So you went from begging to indignant. And it just, in that slight little slip of your tone of voice. These are the things I'm talking about: communication fundamentals, communication success steps, comfortable responses to difficult situations, which is exactly where we've gotten right now, except we didn't have the response, we just had the request. Similar thing though. Okay, let's take these 3 tables. I want you to write down all the communication characteristics that are that stereotype Hollywood executive. Now, you three tables, what are the good characteristics in a good communicator and a good leader? What are those characteristics?
Is that our task?
That's your task. So let's read the stereotype.
Not housebroken. Narcissistic, pushy, pompous, smug, and entitled.
Arrogant, entitled, political, self-involved, brash, condescending, and commanding.
Now let's read the ideal.
Good listener, concise, aware, an empath, self-deprecating, and colloquial.
Active listener, respectful, open-minded, inspiring, and decisive.
I would put respect and mutual respect at the top of the list. I also want to say that no matter how good your communication characteristics are, you work on this. If you're doing them in any mechanical way, and the colloquial, it was a very good one over here, because that's what I mean. You really, and somebody had eye contact, right? So I call this PEG communication. And I'm going to teach you today about validation, about really listening, and about how do you show you're really listening? How do you know you're really listening? The way you know you're really listening is because you say something back to the person goes, she really heard me. She was really listening. When you're having a difficult communication or someone asks you something challenging, give good eye contact. Mainly, it's stay engaged. It's be really engaged, not I'm picking up, I'm doing something else while you're talking to me. Be engaged in the conversation and be genuine. This is telling someone what you want them to do. Here are the requirements for doing X. Why don't you do X this way? You should do X this way. Here's my opinion about the best way to do X. I don't think X is the right way to do this. How many of you think that basically all of those are telling someone what you'd like them to do? There are two in there that I'd suggest you leave out completely. You should do X this way. When you tell someone you should do it this way, you're sharing in the responsibility for their choices, and they can come back to you and say, you told me I should do it this way, and it didn't work out. Here are the fundamentals. I'm giving you 4 simple, absolute foundation for every communication you have with anyone. This is my trademark. No matter what the level of power or station in life of the other person in a dialogue, the communication can always be level. People will say to me, well, if I don't let them know I'm angry and I don't talk down to them, they're not going to pay any attention to me. That is something that I find very hard to believe. Talking down to people does not give you status. Absolutely does not give you status. And begging people, groveling, whatever the political situation is, you're enabling someone if you're doing that, and you're really doing something bad to yourself. So fundamental number 1, equal two-way street. In the middle, that's the equal two-way street. And if you look at that middle column there, those are some of the characteristics you're most looking for in a leader. And a peer and a friend. You really want that kind of communication, and most of all, in yourself. The equal communication is like this. So you want to make sure you're not talking down, or begging. Either one. And that's a really important image for you to keep, that equal two-way street. Okay. Now, some of you may know this. This research has been done over and over again. What percentage of it do you think is nonverbal? And nonverbal is everything except the words. Let's hear some, what do you think?
50.
50? 50 is what I want it to be. It feels right, doesn't it? 50. It should be half and half. That's what it should be. Any more?
90.
Oh, good. I was looking for that one. So the nonverbal portion of communication exceeds 90% of how communication is received. If I only get a 7% window, I better pick those words carefully. And what do you think the biggest parts of nonverbal are? Way 2 that are bigger than anything else. Facial expression. Facial expression, what's the other one? Tone of voice. Okay, here's fundamental number 3. Validating and acknowledging what the other person thinks or wants is of equal importance to the two-way street level communication. Does that mean I'm supposed to agree with people? You tell me something and how else am I going to validate you if I don't agree with you? If I repeat what someone says, that's a good validation. However, what is the key? You tell me the next fundamental. What is the key if I'm going to be genuine? Yeah, I have to have that active listening. If I'm going to reflect back to you what you said, I have to listen. And what do we typically do when people are telling us stuff anyway? What do we do instead of listening? Thinking of what we're going to say next. So instead of really listening to you, and by the way, I think I'm listening. I want to listen. I really want to listen. But, you know, I want to jump in because I can help you. I can make it better. I can get you out of my office. Whatever it is. Whatever it is, it's where I jump. So if I tell myself, I'm going to let Freddie know I really was listening, then I have to listen and I have to slow my mind down and I actually have to take my mind away from my own thoughts so I can say, this is what I heard you say and I really was listening. And then I'm going to jump ahead a minute to something that's coming up. If I do that, if I say, I really heard you, how can I erase that with one little word? But. I really heard you, but. And it is ingrained. The but is ingrained. Here's what I want you to think about. If you're validating someone, if you're demonstrating that you're listening to someone, get yourself to break the habit of following it with but. It's just like taking an eraser and getting rid of it. Okay, we're going to go to 7 simple steps. We already talked about this one. Say it without the not. Find affirmative ways. Figure out a way to say it in the affirmative. Avoid the disclaimer, but, and notice I put disclaimer. If you acknowledge something, that's the time when you really want to get rid of but. If you habitually use the word but all the time, work on getting rid of it altogether. 3, get rid of qualifiers. And I find that people 35 and younger say sort of like my generation said, you know. And it's very interesting, they say sort of and kind of when they're talking about something really important. You know, this is kind of important. Excuse me? If it's important, tell me it's important. So these little some probably kind of just chisels away at what you're saying. So you want to get rid of those. You want to ask open-ended questions. This one is really critical for innovation and for collaboration in particular. So what if we say, talk to me about what happened here. Let's talk about it. What happened here? What kept you from doing this? Tell me what happened. And let the person talk. So avoid questions that start with helping verbs. Is, do, can, will, are. Those can be answered by yes or no. You want to get rid of those. Get rid of the should. We talked about that. Get rid of the passive voice. Often you say, so-and-so made me do this. Or this is what happened to me. Even I had to do something. Rather than saying you had to do something, say I wanted to. This is really important. There are much better ways than passive voice. And of course, the happened to me is victim language, and you want to avoid victim language. Very few people realize this or think about this. And I hear so often people who are very enthusiastic saying, this is what we're trying to do. This is what I'm trying to accomplish. How about if I say, this is my goal? This is what I want to do. This is what I'm doing now to get to here. Trying indicates no achievement whatsoever. We are now going to deal with very difficult requests. And we're going to learn how to handle them. If you get a difficult request and I teach you how to say yes to it, what have I taught you? I think I've taught you nothing. Maybe I've taught you how to validate people, because I believe that in every situation there is a good way to refuse and an appropriate way to refuse a request. Now, this will not be an extended role play. This is one request, and there's going to be one response.
I'm the VP of Sales, and I'm asking you, the Director of Broadcast Operations, a question.
Okay. I totally understand why we would need that. However, I think that Arrow is such an important piece of material for us that we have to hold on to the integrity of that.
First of all, let's give her applause. Okay. Let's also give her feedback on how well she listened. Thank you very, very, very much. Next reader. Who's our next reader? All right, let's give Tom feedback. Let's give Tom feedback.
You could tell immediately by his response was going to be no. Just the start of all this qualification.
Yeah.
Certainly, Mark and I, a lot of people in this room are like, we need to cut to the chase. We've got a million things going on. And nobody takes it personally if we go like, listen, the script didn't work for me. I'm really sorry, we're not going to do it. Like that, it's like that's how we do it.
And you know what? That's the best answer you've given today. Right there.
Okay.
That's the best answer. And that you're doing an exercise for some communication acquisition. So in the situation, you do it quite different. In the reality, you do it quite differently. I want you to get that experience of validating and refusing and leaving out the but and leaving out the tone. Because the tone is what bites you in the butt every time. It's the tone. All you have to do is have just a slight little condescension. And you know, humor is magic. You want to have fun in your workplace. There's such a fine line between sarcasm and cynicism, and when those get into the humor mix, they're really lethal. All right, thank you all.
Thank you.